Welcome to another episode of Live from the Wish House with me, Chris Spinner. If you're a regular, welcome back. And if it's your first time, I'm so happy you're joining us. My path profoundly changed when my son was diagnosed with autism. My marriage collapsed, and I began to develop my own Cris-losophies to navigate and thrive. I'm here to connect with you, to share and learn, and together we can open our minds to creating the life you love to live. So please subscribe, like, share, and most importantly, comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, feelings, and stories. So I began the last podcast with these exact words, but I'm going to say them again. Today we're going to talk about relationships, the age-old topic of conversation. Thousands and thousands of books and songs and poems and movies and stories all dealing with that one word, relationships. And today I'm going to attempt to carve out a little piece of the conversation for myself and ultimately for you as I shed some Cris-losophy on relationships, having them, getting good ones, and keeping them. And while I'm confident enough to believe my conversations and ideas and things that I've learned through living my life are good food for thought for just about anyone, I admit I tend to lean into the women's audience. And so it is with this episode. Again, ladies, this is primarily for you. I'll kick off the conversation with this. What are the reasons we want a relationship? Well, it's a natural human desire to partner with another, to find someone with whom you can spend time with and share your life with. And in many instances, we do just that. We find someone with whom we can share our life with, and it is life-lasting. But sometimes it turns out to be sharing portions of our life with another. We start off thinking that a partnership is going to be life-lasting, but then for a multitude of reasons, it doesn't turn out to be. And then once again, we quest to find someone to share our journey. And we are, for the most part, intrinsically sexual beings and naturally have the desire to connect with someone on a physical level as well. And of course, many people think about what it would be like to raise a child, to raise children of their own. So there's another reason to set your sights on a relationship. I find myself sitting perched in a good position, being able to swivel my head from left to right as I watch different relationships form around me. At my age, I find myself lucky enough to watch the next generation, my nieces, my cousins' daughters, my friends' daughters, younger gals in general that I've made acquaintance with through the years, gals in their 20s, 30s, early 40s, trying to navigate this thing called love while hoping to find a partner. I'm on my perch, also watching gals my own age navigating relationship, navigating marriages that seem to survive almost 4 decades sometimes in harmony, navigating marriages that are still intact but have shifted into another mode of relationship. And then I have friends with vibrant relationships that despite their ups and downs are still going strong. Gals who have lost spouses either through their passing or through divorce, trying to navigate being single either by choice or circumstance. Some searching once again for a partner. Now, I myself am single, not searching, but attracting, as I like to say. There's a famous quote from the singer Rihanna. Someone asked her once on the red carpet, "What kind of a man are you looking for?" And she famously said, "Let's start with, I'm not looking for a man." That's me. I'm not looking, but I'm attracting, meaning I'm living my best life. I'm comfortable in my life. I'm happy in my own company. And if someone sees me from across the crowded room and wants to enter my energy space, I'm open to it. And then I'll take it from there. So what can I offer on this topic? What can I share with you about relationships and how to have a good, solid one? We've heard it all before. Somebody says, in order to have a good relationship, you have to love yourself. So I'm going to call this episode, I Am My Own True Love. You can't love someone else until you love yourself. Well, you can't love someone else correctly unless you love yourself. But what does that really mean? And is that something that we can just kind of do at any point in our life? Loving who you are? It's easier said than done because it takes a lot of knowledge of who you are and being comfortable with who you are and having true confidence in who you are to actually do that, to actually love yourself, to actually feel that. I'm going to tell you, so many times I've said those words out loud, I love myself, but I really had no idea what that meant. I hear my friends say that. I hear my peers say that. I love myself. And I know they don't even know the depth of what that means. See, on the remedial end, of course, we can say it with some confidence. I love myself. We don't want harm to come to ourselves. We don't want to put ourselves in a position where we would be unhappy. But that's not really loving yourself. That's kind of looking out for yourself. You would want that for anybody that's in your sphere. But I think loving yourself is the most important thing for a good relationship. So here's where I believe it should start and how you can be on the lookout for situations where you can help it to be, where you're influencing someone younger or where you're mirroring to yourself. I think we have to be supported in loving ourselves from a very young age. We have to be supported in that idea by our parents, our mentors, families, community, our teachers. But unfortunately, it's a cycle. You have people who don't love themselves parenting others. I think in order to love yourself, you need to be confident in who you are. You have to feel accepted. You have to feel safe. There was a song when I was a kid called Free to Be You and Me. You have to be free to be. You have to be free to be you and me. There's a fine line to walk as a parent, a fine line between guiding your child so they have a balanced sense of themselves, a sense of community, a sense of sharing, a sense of being open-minded to differences. A fine line between guiding your child with those attributes while accepting the person your child is becoming. You know, I have a Christmas cactus, they call it, that I love to see bloom. But it's been very fickle in recent times, and it doesn't bloom every year. It only blooms when it feels like it, sometimes in the spring, sometimes before Christmas. I like it when 5 or 6 of the branches bloom at the same time. They have these lovely pink flowers. They almost look like mini poinsettias. But recently, the cactus is only blooming one flower at a time. At any time of the year, it feels like blooming. When all I really want is 5 or 6 flowers, but all I'm getting is one. And so it is with our children. We have to accept the beauty in who they are so that they can feel confident in themselves. I'm accepting that my plant only wants to give me one pink flower, and I'm going to love that pink flower. I'm going to water that plant and encourage it to bloom as brightly as it can. And maybe I have a secret wish for some more flowers to come through, but I'm going to love that plant with its one beautiful flower. I'm going to take pictures and tell my friends how great that plant is and how beautiful that one flower is. And so it is with our children. Doing what you can to water and accept. Even if their ideas are different than yours, even if their opinions are different than yours. A young person that feels valued in their opinion, that feels valued in their idea, begins to realize that who they are is worthy of a listen, that who they are is worthy of someone's interest. They're more likely to seek out like-minded peers. They're more likely not to be involved in popularity contests and cliques in school and striving to be like someone else because they've been taught, accepted, and feel validated in who they are. That's where it starts. And It doesn't start in pseudo-emotional platitudes like telling a child that they should have gotten the lead in the school play because their voice is just as good as someone else's when you know that's not true. That isn't helping your child. Simply telling your child that they deserve everything, that they are worthy of everything isn't helpful. In fact, sometimes it does the opposite. It puts pressure on the child to be all of the things that the adult is giving them credit for or wants them to be. And then they're trying to please, and that will come to haunt. Better to be more specific and perhaps practical. Even at a young age, your child comes home from school and says they hate math. Telling them they're smart and they can do it isn't helping the situation. Finding out why they don't like math is going to be the helpful thing. It just may very well be that that subject area is not something that their brain is wired to be passionate about. And it's okay for them not to like it. Of course, we want them to pass the course and to achieve a good grade at school. Of course, we want them to open their mind to a new way of thinking. We tell them that math can help them become more logical in their pursuit of life. So we find a way to work that. We find a way to work that in, acknowledging that they're not mathematicians, but taking on the responsibility that they're going to have is a good completion for them. It gives the child autonomy of knowing this isn't for me, and I don't have to please anybody by pretending it is and pretending that I like it, but it is an obligation for me to put the time into it, and so I will. See, in my mind, it's a parent thing. It's a mentor thing. It's a guider thing. Loving yourself is something that has to be taught by infusing those attributes into your child. Self-esteem is no joke, and instilling that early on is key. The sense of self, to me, is the most important cornerstone in developing solidly good relationships of any kind. And don't confuse it. Sense of self is not being selfish. Selfish and entitlement comes from insecurity. Selfish and entitlement is anxiety producing. That may not look it from the outside. We may know people who appear to be selfish and entitled. From the outside, it looks like strength, but it's a hell of a lot of work keeping up that idea in your mind that somehow you are above all that is around you. Sense of self and self-esteem give you peace because the more you know yourself, the more your relationships in general will be less problematic. You'll have better friends because you choose the people that choose you. You will choose the people that want to be part of what you want to be a part of. Your early friends will connect with you on a level that's based in honesty and trust, and they won't even know what's happening. The child won't even know what's happening. It will simply be a natural consequence because you're attracting the supporters, the cheerleaders, the lovers of you. If you show up authentically, comfortable, and confident, watch how things move into your attraction sphere effortlessly. It'll be the same for your work, the same for your career. Parents, mentors, teachers, community need to applaud who the child is becoming. If you're encouraged to follow your own path, if you have adults around you who are tuned into not only listening to your interests, but giving you as much opportunity to have your mind open to new experiences, you will find your way. And then when the roles are reversed, when you become the guider, you become the mentor, you become the teacher, showing adults who you are and what you are becoming. Once you discover your authentic purpose, it's smooth sailing. Does it mean you're going to get every job you apply for? No. But does it mean that you're going to come home and have less recovery time from the rejection? Yes. And the rejection is redirection, or the rejection is protection mantra will become second nature. And so it will be with romantic relationships and partnerships. If you're already comfortable with who you are and what you want and what you need in a relationship, then a relationship will become very apparent. You'll know when you're not receiving what you want, and you won't expect things from others. Because having expectations about another person isn't a good sign. But knowing what you want, knowing what you need, feeling confident and comfortable saying no to what isn't that is a healthy experience. Expecting someone to change who they are to meet you at your want, to meet you at your need is not a healthy experience. Because if they're not matching your energy, if they're not matching your desires, then that will quickly come to light that that person is not for you. You wouldn't want to consider a long-term partnership with someone who's simply not on the same road as you are. And the reason that we have expectations and try to change people to fit into spaces that they're not designed to fit into is because we're lacking the self-esteem. We're lacking in the self-esteem area. We're lacking in the confidence area. We don't feel comfortable in our own skin. And that is a direct result of how you were accepted in your younger years. It's a direct result of what you were taught. It's a direct result of the lack of cheerleading for you and the absolute divinity of which you were created. Okay, Chris, this is a lot. That's what you're saying. You're probably raising your hand right now as you're listening and saying, that's me. That is me. I wasn't encouraged. I didn't have the right emotional upbringing. Now what do I do? Well, never fear. The first thing you're going to have to do is parent yourself. This isn't as difficult as you think, but it is a little more time consuming. I did an episode number 8 on parenting yourself. You can go and listen to that as well. It's got some great tips. But today I'm going to throw some at you as well. If you find yourself in that category, and by the way, we're probably mostly in that category. I didn't have all of that emotional upbringing. And now I find myself expecting from others. And now I find myself wanting this relationship to be something it can't be. What do? Well, it all starts here. It all starts loving yourself, being yourself, asking yourself. You're going to have to do some soul searching. And I recommend talking to yourself. I do it all the time. I like to talk to myself out loud. It organizes my brain. And I recommend while you're alone, literally having conversations with yourself about who you are and what you want and how you can contribute to your own life, to your own getting those things. It's actually very simple, but the scary part is that as an adult, you might have to start assessing what's around you. You might find that some of the friends you're associating with or some of the activities that you're involving yourself in aren't really for you. And now you're thinking, well, how are they not for me? I chose them, didn't I? But did you though? In some instances, you haven't chose them. It's just a default from who you think you are, from who you have allowed yourself to become through the years of messages coming from everywhere and through the years of striving to feel confident, to feel relevant. In some instances, you've allowed yourself to feel entitled through expectation, and you're supported by others in that notion. So when it comes to a partner, you expect a partner to understand what you need and what you want, and your friends are on board with you. Why isn't he doing that? You would think he would blank. If only she would blank. But here's the thing. If you were in touch with who you are and comfortable choosing what you need, you would, for the most part, not have chosen that person in the first place. Because you would recognize that the person wasn't going to be a match. See, I've said this before. Knowing who you are and being able to advocate for yourself, having self-esteem, feeling self-love is calming. It's relaxing. It's not anxiety-provoking. Anxiety-provoking is when we feel self-entitled. We want things to go our way because we're compensating for what we really don't know about ourselves. We spend so much time being angry that others aren't bending to our will, especially in relationships, that we become angry. And through that anger, we say things like, I know my worth. And if the relationship doesn't work out, I can blame the other. And then I can say things like, it's their loss. But how can it really be anybody's loss if the two of you weren't compatible to begin with? You have to start looking at those redirections as a blessing. It's how I feel about my own divorce. With all due respect, I married my husband for very different reasons than what I should have been marrying my husband for. I truly did not have any idea who I was. Maybe deep down, I just hadn't let that come to the surface. I didn't realize there were dreams I had outgrown. I didn't realize there were things I wanted to do. I wasn't giving myself the opportunity to do it. And most importantly, I didn't know how to give myself the opportunity to do it. That's why it's so important for us as the adults to model all of that for children or to parent all of that with our own. I wasn't a very strong, confident woman, even though I projected that outside in other instances where I was quite successful, such as my work. In reality, I didn't have the emotional quotient of confidence, comfortability, and understanding who I was. So I didn't have the skill set to really project an authentic picture. And I found myself asking the age-old questions. Why isn't he doing? Don't you think he should be doing? If only he would. It wasn't until after my marriage fell apart and years of experience that these ideas, reflections, realizing what was going on at that time, that I realized somebody being who they are is exactly that. It's somebody being who they are. And I don't have the right to change that person. But what I do have is a privilege of finding the match for me. And I can only do that if I know myself, if I love myself, if I'm confident, if I'm comfortable, and if I'm comfortable with the idea that a partner may not be found on a time schedule. Better to be alone than navigating through a situation that is simply not optimum. I am my first true love. So get to know yourself. Try to seek out pals who want to get to know you. Gravitate to people you know genuinely like you. Give new friends a chance. Take a risk. Find a new activity. Make time to read or plant or draw. Whatever you want to try. Whatever feels authentic. Practice the version of yourself that you want to be. I love that sentence, the version of yourself, because I said in the podcast prior, I feel like there's so many versions of myself that have been able to evolve. So start today by practicing the version of yourself that you want to be, that you want to authentically be. Stop sifting through dating sites looking for a partner that you choose through attributes that you're not even sure are authentic. Don't envy. If you see an attribute you like, practice it. It's not too late to be brave enough to discover yourself and give yourself only the things you know you truly want. And it's not too late to be brave enough to begin to place those ideas, to pay it forward in those experiences to those who you're raising or who are younger than you. Happiness and feeling content most of the time is an inside job. And I'll see you next time here at the Wish House.